Innovation is never easy. How can you do more with less in today's cost-constrained environment? I'm joined today by Daniel Hu, a partner at Capco, to talk about how firms are managing innovation in a market environment that sees lower commissions and lower revenue. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. How are folks in today's market managing change?
I think from a change management perspective, what we're seeing is the need to become more creative in terms of how institutions manage their change personnel, and ideally, whether it's through third-party service providers or internally, much of the focus is on cost.
Are there any change management personnel left within these institutions?
Absolutely, absolutely. The need for change is still there. Businesses are still looking to grow. They're still looking to move forward. Even in a cost-constrained environment, you still need to have these professionals who are affecting change, managing change, enabling whether it's increased controls, increased efficiencies, because those affect the bottom line as well. So having change professionals and change personnel within those organizations is still as important as it was in the past, albeit on a slightly different scale than it was in the past.
What are you seeing folks do in today's market to create innovative ways to manage all the change that's coming down the pike?
What we're seeing are a much more creative, sort of outside the box thinking in terms of how to approach their change organizations. One of the terms that we've coined within Capco is a term called change sourcing, which is, very simply put, it's a different way to think about how to engage professional change organizations, consultancies, via a strategic partnership that's going to add both economic benefit to the institutions,
right,
but as well as maintaining sort of the existing quality of service in terms of managing change, helping the institutions grow, helping their businesses grow, obviously with the view on how do we do that in a cost-constrained environment.
I mean, we hear that term strategic partnership thrown out almost as much as we hear the term paradigm shift.
Yep.
What is involved when you actually create a strategic partnership that works, both from the perspective of the consultancy and the perspective of the end user who's engaging that consultancy?
It's really thinking about it and approaching it as almost a merger and integration of two organizations. It's being open to the view of absorbing resources within one institution to the other. It's also being again open-minded to the views of how you can manage training, how you can manage workforce retention, how you can manage service quality, execution quality, all via a third party, right? And it's being open to sort of the cross-pollination between two organizations, right, and the resources and the expertise that both organizations have.
Well, you know as well as I do, in today's market environment, a lot of the larger institutions are very controlling of the workforces. They want to have or maintain 100% control over every aspect of their technology, of their regulatory sort of innovations and projects. How can you, as let's say you're a senior leader within these institutions, say, enable this sort of change sourcing within your environment? How can you get sort of the overall organization to embrace this new sort of strategy?
Absolutely. So that's a very good question. So what you'll see are institutions will have differing views on the degree of ownership that they're willing to relinquish to a third party. So whoever is providing that service, there needs to be a certain degree of flexibility that they have as far as catering to the different degrees of clients.
Right. So
if we take the extreme where you have certain clients who are going to want to maintain as much direct ownership, direct subject matter expertise over sort of their own workforce versus a third party. I think what the mentality has to be of the consultancy or the service provider coming in is sort of to be open to that, right? The way that you do that is obviously looking at the different profiles of roles within that organization, right? It's looking at the ones that are very much I don't want to use the term generic, okay, but the ones that are somewhat specialized in a way that you can absorb into a third party, but still maintain sort of the direct ownership, the direct accountability, and the knowledge base that you want to keep within your own. And
what are the benefits for a large organization to say, okay, we're going to embark on this sort of change sourcing mentality? What benefits can they see in the near term or in the midterm or the long term?
Sure. So for me, I think there's four key themes of benefits that they can derive. One is very obvious. It's really transforming their cost base, right?
Okay.
It's being able to flexibly look at different resource options, different resource cost options via a third party. So that's one. I think the second one is really around retention of talent and developing of talent. Again, it's not to say that those organizations in and of themselves cannot retain or train their talent. They absolutely can. But given the situations that we're in, leveraging the expertise, the experience of consultancies who've done this for many, many years, who have the infrastructure,
who have the thought leadership,
and
the cross-pollination.
Absolutely, and I think that leads to the whole talent development, retention, and so forth. I think the third and the fourth are sort of tightly aligned, and it's really around service quality, innovation, and it's around execution and delivery. So in terms of innovation and service quality, it kind of ties in to the expertise, to the experience, and to the knowledge base that those third parties bring to the table. In terms of service quality, it's really having mechanisms, having sort of quantifiable measures that can define what is good service, what does it mean to deliver projects on time, on budget, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha.
Now we move into sort of execution quality and sort of innovation, and those areas are where you can start to get very, very creative. We've talked about things within the industry of using sort of offsite delivery centers, where you can reduce a firm's cost base in terms of just office space, and delivering projects, housing resources in sort of in other areas, whether they're core locations, whether they're non-core locations, what have you. So there's a lot of flexibility. So I really see those kind of four themes as being the four key benefits that they can derive from this.
Well, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. It seems like doing more with less is a paradigm that's not going to change. And so change sourcing may be the way for institutions to sort of marry the thoughts of innovation and cost effectiveness. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.